You're welcome back. You're still watching TVC Breakfast. Now, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has expressed regret over the failure of successive administration to effectively tackle corruption, identifying this as the key reason for the issue that continues to plague the country. Now, Obasanjo stated that during his time in office, he made significant efforts to address corruption by identifying its root cause and proposing solutions. However, he lamented that these efforts were not sustained after he left office in 2007. In his upcoming book, Nigeria, Past and Future, Obasanjo argues that no single administration can win the fight against corruption without consistent follow-through by those that come after. Although he did not specify the successors, he criticized the lack of community in anti-corruption initiatives following his tenure. Obasanjo served as president from May 29, 1999, after taking over from General Abdul Salami Abubakar and remained in office for 8 years. Joining us in the studio for this discussion after the break is political analyst and convener, Campaign for Dignity in Governance, Mr. Razak Olokoba.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good morning. How are you? How's it going?
Thank you very much.
Good to see you. It's always great to have you in the show, Mr. Razak, because your insights are very powerful. And now we're looking at this topic that has been gaining momentum on social media as well. You know, this is what former president is saying. We look at the time that he left office and look at the time he's saying this. He has a book now. But while he was in office, we can also say that he did some fantastic things for Nigeria. We talk about GSM, we talk about the EFCC and so on. And then now people are saying that in terms of continuity, let's say we have a good president that comes, he brings reforms, that these are amazing reforms. When the next president comes, we do not see the reforms following through. But I just want to get your opinion. What do you make of this statement he has made?
Well, if the thing has come from ordinary Nigerians, it should like make more money to people like me. And I'm going to come to that. When he left government for the first time in 79. A few years after, we became very active as a young men. And then we were talking about unification of the whole of Africa. And we met the president, Obasanjo, several times. He was former head of state then. And the same pattern he took now was what he took then. So it became a regular thing for him that he condemns previous administration. He did it for Ritala. And many of us were always at loggerhead with him because that platform was for Africans. He was the leader of the ALF then, Africa Leadership Forum. So we're always engaging with him. And it shocks us that if you want to talk about Gowon, of course, it's understandable. You want to talk about Rosie, you want to talk about Balewa and Awolowo. But how can you say the same thing about someone you were advised to, who was Ritala then? So we're always at a loggerhead with Obasanjo then. So when they want to come back to power in 1999, we quickly engaged him. Mr. President, you had a fantastic opportunity to put down a model because military, they are just rascals in power. Rascals in power. No finesse, no clear understanding of governance. So we said, let's come to your aid. Put down a political and economic model. Maybe it's consciousness as a military man that a command structure didn't understand the concept of devolution of power. So that was how you lost the opportunity. We said before you proceed, before political class became stubborn, and before Nigeria become addictive to this political structure, do something. And can we point out to any a model he put on ground to allow him to say such a thing? I didn't see. We can cite examples of other countries of the world who came to power about that time. Hugo Chavez came into power in 1989, about that time. If not for the challenge Hugo Chavez asked in Venezuela. He said, we are telling good story about that country today. And correct that impression that he brought yesterday. He didn't bring GSM. Gaddafi paid $500 million to establish our own satellite to be able to have access to GSM. We were paying £400 million to rent satellite from Britain before. So Africa had access to it. It was about the time that Abacha was about to bring it, or Abacha died. Yeah. So it's not about him. It's not, that's not a part of that. So what I'm saying in essence is that if you want to talk about something, you will have pointed that up. And let me give you an example about Lagos. Lagos has a mole now. Any government that steps out of that model will actually fail. I've had an example in Ambody. So for him, we said the center is actually designed by your men, the military, for Nigeria to continue to languish in poverty, disagreement. We knew it's going to come to this with the political structure. So he had the opportunity to do that. Then the economic model, free market economy, that is what we run. Then for us to have direct access to our economy and a control and a grip, access to our resources must not be in the hand of any federal institution. Devolve power on resources. Let each state component part have access. What's federalism? The share of power between the unit of government, the federal and the state. There's no share of power, it's unitary. Yes. So we explained and explained to Obasanjo, he didn't get it. So it's a fallback of the deficiency brought into power that is witnessing today. And I hope that deficiency is being addressed by the president at the moment. When Tinubu came into power, after a year, we were shocked that this was not going in the direction we agreed. But now, if you look at the model, the taxing system now, all the states are sitting right. All of them knew that in another 5-10 years to come, if I don't do something about the economy of my own state, there will be no one to pay salaries again. So that's a shock to me that Obasanjo didn't realize the error he made us at that time. He lost that go. So by the time another government come, Nigeria became used to the system on ground. Political class don't want to change it again. So the FCC said, we told him that it was not the absence of guns and bullets that led to increase in armed and banditry. It was not because people have penchant to be corrupt people in Nigeria. We are the same all over the world. But when you give access to people to resources, there's a tendency that they might be tempted to do so. That commission, look at budget for education. 36 commissioner of education will have access to our budget on education. Minister of federal and state parliament. Why not design a model where states will control their own resources, but you first carry truckload of money to Abuja? So he should be held responsible for what we are going to in terms of corruption. When FCC came on board, we told him that of course the FCC is coming on board. Why is it that the laws that say you should go after thieves in Nigeria, why are they not working? It is them deficiency that will also prevent FCC from working. Someone that said that do or die affair. Is that a legacy? Is that a political legacy?
Let us
so we are talking about legacies now. So it needs to talk. It's not a legacy.
No, let us look at this thing from Obasanjo's point of view. What gave him the temerity to say what he said? He established EFCC. Exactly. He did ICPC. He named fraudsters. Some people were convicted during his tenure for corruption and so on and so forth. And what he said in his book is that if the next administration had upped the ante from where he stopped, that corruption would have been dealt with. So don't you think he has a legitimate right to say that?
When you hand over a rickety vehicle to a driver, you can't be blaming him. He handed over very rickety institutions to these predecessors, to the people that came after him. You can hand over institutions of this nature to, what do I mean by rickety institution? When political class have unhindered access to your institution, they have control over it, that's weak. For instance, if you look at the police now, who controls the police? 70% is in the hand of the political class. They are supposed to go through rank and file. And we told him, you want a good police? Look at what happened to his IG. Look at what happened to your IG. And that's going to be the picture when you leave. So he didn't do that. Countries don't work by abracadabra. And that's why there's a need for political summit for all our head of states. But you need to give them political education. So that good governance doesn't come from only winning elections. It goes beyond that. And that's the impression of Obasanjo. So, see, you can't hand over our country the way it is to so you expect him to perform miracle. What has he done? He paid debt with our capital. Who pays debt with the capital? That's what he did. And we warned him that you don't pay them with capital, Mr. President. You want to be good people to Nigerians and
does that promote corruption in the system?
Yes.
Paying debt with our capital?
Yes. All the things about did. He increased fuel price 9 times. Took part in all the protests. 9 times within 8 years. 9 So see, we are a country who don't dissect administration properly.
Yes.
Yeah.
When something is bad, if it's not corrected, it gets bad. But the previous owner will say that at my own time, whereas Your car was bad before you handed it over to somebody else. Yeah. But because it was not repaired, it's not as if the previous government was better than the present government. No. It was because the rickety situation we find ourselves was not repaired.
Right.
So people will say, rice was this price as at that time. What we need to do as a nation, which the president is aware of, as tactically admitting now, he's talking about state police, though.
So Mr. Lokoba,
you're talking about devolution of power. Those are things you need to do. You can't run country the way it is now. We were expecting a better result, and it's the best position. I am part of several engagement with Mr. President Obasanjo.
Let's
so there's no miracle about repair of a nation. Yeah. There's no miracle. What God has not done for Muhammad and Christ. He can't do it for us, no matter how long you stay in mosque and church.
Well, it's a continuous progress, and then we believe that government is continuum. So we believe that it laid some fundamental structures on the
There's
ground.
nothing fundamental.
So I'm coming
didn't
there.
lay anything fundamental.
I'm coming there. Let's look at the message that he has rather than the messenger himself. Historically, Obasanjo transitioned, as you mentioned, Nigeria from military rule in 1979, and then led the civilian government, in 1999, positioned himself as a corruption leader, fighter. So we'll come in there. In his latest book, which came out, in August 2025, he blasts the judiciary for being deeply compromised. And if you ask most Nigerians, they will tell you that yes, the judiciary is corrupt. He's not the first person saying that. I think there's a poll that says that Nigerians, about 70% Nigerians believe that that the judiciary is corrupt in those recent surveys. So if you look at his claim post 2007, the leaders allowed the system to rot a bit further, according to him. Do you not feel that with his claim of about the judiciary, his own claim, and that majority of Nigerians believe that actually helps strengthen his own position of successive governments or maybe people in government not helping to stamp out corruption?
One of the features of a good leader is to admit when you made error in the past. The one is always saying that with his body language about so many things, including the civil war, that we shouldn't have taken the civil war that far. We are fighting each other. We are not fighting another country. And I know very well that in the reflections of Obasanjo, Awolowo and Zik and even Saddam were to be allowed, there are things that they will reflect about. See, Obasanjo has not reflected on his 8 years as a civilian rule for him to have admitted that he made fundamental errors. You see, when this is coming from, I said it in my intro, that if it is coming from you and me, government is government, you are government, you have to fix it. But when it's coming from someone who has been forewarned consistently from ethnic perspective.
That was why I said we should look at the message.
Exactly.
No, the message is for
Is there corruption in the land? Yes or no?
Of course, there's corruption in the land.
So as this
and again, the judiciary. I'm coming to what you have said. Judiciary, we told him that there's no how judiciary can function in this manner. There's overbearing influence of executive over the judiciary. There's no abracadabra. I kept saying that there's no abracadabra there until and unless we do something about it. So if it's not now. For him to admit his error, it means he will begin to say that, okay, my error, now, this is the pathway. This is the roadmap I think you should begin to do. A, B, C, D, outlining. What did he outline in what he has said? Except blame, 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 blame. What is it that made the people that came after you fail? Point them out.
Okay.
That same thing that made you fail at your own time is still battling with the current administration. I have not said anything about it. The reason why we have state challenge in security today is that the architecture of our security in this country is not proper. We pronounce federating unit, federalism, and we run a unitary system for our security institutions. And he is one of the architects that created that. This military mentality.
He didn't write the constitution. He only used the constitution.
He can do something about it. He didn't even admit that there's something wrong with our structure. That's his biggest error. He didn't want to admit that, how can you have a president refusing to admit that something is wrong with this structure, and he kept writing books. There's nothing wrong with his age. That has been who he is from his days as a young man of state.
Let me come here. You are very passionate speaking, but I'm going to ask you a very direct question. Would you say that, President Olusegun Obasanjo was not a good president? Yes or no?
He was not a good president at all.
Okay, so you are
categorically
saying that
he was a dictator.
Oh, wow.
And he was not a Democrat.
Okay, now let me come to this question.
Today is not a Democrat.
When we speak about corruption,
yeah,
we know that he's one person that has laid a legacy. When we talk about corruption, he fought against corruption. And that's why we even saw
corruption.
that's why we saw the EFCC coming up under his leadership. But you are saying right now, with everything no, wait, Mr. Razak, with all the achievements that, at least we can point out some achievements that he has done, but you are saying this morning on TV that he was not a good president.
Yeah.
Okay.
See.
I'm listening.
See, if you have a trained dog, you go to specific people you want him to. Obasanjo use EFCC as a trained dog.
You think so?
Yes, to go after specific people, to persecute opposition. That's what he has done. We gave him list. I was in his time, constantly on TV. His voice ran after us. I can give you marks on my body. When they say this message from, I don't know whether it is true or not. After a TV program, I can't show you mark on my face. I can't see my left eye again. From batting of police sent by Obasanjo after a TV program in Lagos.
So you bashed him on the program? What did you do on the program? That
it was about the conference. We are talking about Sovereign National Conference, that the Pronaco conference, that there's a need for him to call a conference and discuss about some issues of this nature. He didn't admit. He called his friend, he later became enemies. So for me, EFCC to him, as at that time, by own definition, is a trained dog for Obasanjo to go after specific individual that might pass. What was that coming from? Do you know the meaning of consolidation? I'm a political science expert. Consolidation of democracy means that power should keep rotating, not static. Obasanjo said that PDP is going to be there for 50 years by his cronies. It didn't come directly from him. So all these things that he has done should be a moment of reflection for him that I made a error for my in my
Mr. Razak, this is not a personal beef.
No, it's not a personal beef.
Exactly.
I needed to ask you that.
As at the time he was head of state, as at the time he was head of state, I was a young man.
Okay, because you mentioned that you were battered because you said something on TV, and that's why I had to come.
It's about nation. It's not about my father's farm. It's not struggling with a wife with my father.
But let us look at the wonderful things that EFCC is achieving today.
Yeah.
If Obasanjo had not established it, we wouldn't have had an agency that's doing what, and the gentleman that's leading EFCC right now is he's very
That's
effective.
probably because the president that came after. That was because the president that came after
exactly
learned how to turn. They learned how to turn setback into victory.
Oh,
okay.
That was it. If you mismanage a tool, and someone got a hold of the tool, just like a knife, it's a very useful cooking utensil in the eye of a woman in the kitchen. But when a man is with a knife, you have to run. That's the FCC for you.
That's right.
It's a tool. If it's in the right hand, it is going to be used for a productive purpose.
But if he didn't introduce it, how would he even get to the right hand?
No, that's what I'm saying, that if someone had a motive, even the constitution we are saying is dedicated today, if we have committed president, like Jonathan made an attempt, he did a single treasury account, he did a PVC from the security system. Buhari came and he did our foreign policy, which people didn't understand very well. Yeah. People were not buying our oil again when Buhari came on board, before Jonathan left. Look at what he did. No, but then Tinubu came. You look at the oil sector, the major backbone of the economy of Nigeria. Look at what he has done to it. We are doing very well. Right, and so many other things. So if an instrument is in the hand of someone who meant well for the nation, it's going to use it very well. So no matter what he has done with EFCC, some people who understand what governance is all about, they are using it for productive purpose. So for me, and I want Nigeria to be very objective about this.
I want you to
let's point out about one legacy. These are these are not legacies. See, what the world must understand that the part we were talking before about our whole country, where we don't understand the direction of our nation. Who defined it? That's what you should be talking about. What did they define? The economy, the political institutions. I'm saying the political institutions in Nigeria today, we have to do something about it. The formative stage of Nigeria, Zik, Awolowo, and Tap knew very well that we can't operate a unified system. And it's the pattern all over the world. When you have different people in a country, you don't run this kind of political system where people will lump together. Sardauna said no. I will say no. Irosi came and did it. And for you to correct it, you still have a hope that you must have the whole of Nigeria in your own pocket. That's the impression about Nigeria. And that's not Nigeria for you.
Right.
The closeness between America and Britain. Britain followed this path. Where Scottish, Irish, they operate a system where the center is with, well, America is almost one culture, one nation. It befits them. It doesn't befit Nigeria. And that's the pain in my heart that someone want that golden opportunity. Now it's been difficult. It's been very difficult. Talk about restructuring. Our other brothers who think that the restructuring is anti-North. It's not. But Obasanjo had the opportunity that time. Fresh, coming to power. Where political class has not become stubborn. They are just coming. They will accept any proposal from the government, from the president. He didn't do that. So you can see what someone has spent the whole of his life pursuing. That's me. And many other people. And tweet it in the bush. And not come after about 30 years to say that.
I think our audience understand.
Well, I should lay the foundation for it.
Right. I think our audience understand your standpoint and you know the background of your submissions this morning. But you could recall that Obasanjo himself, you know, he's got a famous quote where he said, "There is no part of the world where corruption is absolutely eliminated," you know, acknowledging that it's a global fight. But yet, in March 2025, he labeled Tinubu and Shekina as corrupt small minds in his book. So he also historically, you know, handed over Aradua in 2007 in what was mad as election rigging, the do or die affair, to the extent that he even called Umaru Musa Aradua at the point when he was sick, you know, Umaru, are you still alive? You know, that kind of, that particular phone call. Especially even in his successors, you know, where Jonathan also passed the Freedom of Information Act 2011 to boost transparency and all of that. And the botched, Ogun State, you know, power infrastructure that was supposed to be done by his own administration. 16 billion naira or dollars that, you know, went into the drain. They can't account for it. Do you feel like Obasanjo is not exactly speaking truth to power because he has attacked every single successor that had come, you know, after him? He has never seen anything good in them. But in that same breath, should we not take the information, I mean, the message that he's passing, rather than looking at Obasanjo? He's an old general. He would always want to talk as a father, as, you know, someone. But should we not just begin to run with the messages coming from his letters, its outbursts, etc.?
Yeah. Assuming a chief says that, well, let's stop till, you know, you say before it has become a combat. But when the pastor says that, please don't look at things that you may discover about me in the future, but don't steal, that's a concern. Or an imam says that if you discover any bad thing from me in the future, if it is coming from him, that's where I have concern. Someone who had a chance of addressing what he's complaining about now and didn't address it, that's a concern. And that's a waste of time. 8 years from your life, 8 years removed from my life, that's a waste of power.
But what Ibrahim is saying is that, you know, he said a message. Why don't we take the message and forget about the messenger?
Not saying about we take them serious.
Oh. So why can't you take from
we are laying a bad precedence. Someone who's going to become the president tomorrow will say that I can misbehave like Obasanjo and became a saint after my tenure in power. We don't want that again. Right. He's supposed to be a mentor. He's supposed to be someone who is supposed to be laying path for young men to pass. Any leadership trait from any leadership should be imbibed. What kind of leadership do you want to imbibe from Obasanjo? Someone who didn't do well as head of state, who didn't do well as a president. He's not talking as an empire builder. Which empire is he building? Someone who increased fuel price 9 times. During his tenure, we were on the street constantly with Oshiomhole. What legacy is he laying? Others
are saying that he's angry because he's not in control of, you know, the successive governments. Like whenever he loses control, he gets angry.
Could that be the case?
Is that the point?
It has become a way of life to him because he did it for someone who was not alive. He wants to be in control of Burtala in the grave. That has become a way of life to him. He wants to become the most prominent person in Owu, the most prominent person in Abeokuta, the most prominent person in Nigeria, and the most prominent black man in Africa. That's what he's aspiring to be. Okay. And he didn't lead with a foundation. So the message is
but you can't take away the fact that he's internationally respected
and recognized as well.
If you are two-time president of Nigeria, you will be internationally recognized. There's nothing special that he did that made him recognized. It's because he was a president twice. If you are a president twice too, they give it to you that you are a two-time president of Nigeria. Remember, the 7th most populated country in the world. As a former president of that country, you will be recognized.
Okay, so you're saying that he is recognized because he was president twice, not that he has done anything good for
Nigeria. That is a fantastic person. I just have to put this. I just have to put this. By your calculations, how deep are we in our corruption index, and how soon do you think, or how well is this administration trying to get us out of it?
The man in charge now I think he's learned a lot from the errors of the past. The EFCC guy there.
Wow, Mr. Razak, there's a lot to talk about. I wish we had time because you are so passionate about this. Very fearless. We're definitely having you on the show again. Thank you so much. Those were really fantastic insights. I love it. He's very punchy. He says it and he says it. Thank you very much. But President Tinubu's visit to Brazil signals a new chapter in Nigeria-Brazil ties. Join us after the break as we explore the key strategic gains, economic opportunities, and what this means for Nigeria's global standing. Stay with us.